Hello, private practice owners. This is Lisa Wozniak with Woz Marketing, here for another episode of Private Practice Owners of the Month. And this month, we're going to be featuring Eva Brown. Eva is utilizing marketing in such fascinating ways, and it's paying off such huge dividends for her that I really wanted to be able to take the time to talk about what she's doing in her practice. So welcome, Eva. Thanks so much for being here with us today.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. I love your energy, your warmth. I'm happy to contribute in any way I can for your audience.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for that. So I'd like to just go ahead and jump right in. If we could look back in time just a little bit and talk about what was going on in your practice that motivated you to take on some of these marketing challenges. And when I say some of these marketing challenges, some of the things that I'm aware of that you've done for yourself are you've got an award-winning podcast, and you've got a fantastic Facebook group for couples, and you even teach a few mastermind classes. So all of these marketing strategies have paid off so well for you, and I'd like to talk a little bit about what was going on in your practice that encouraged you to implement some of these marketing strategies.
Yeah. Well, it's such an interesting question to be asked to go back into the practice, right? But one of the things that comes to my mind first, Lisa, is that when I first opened my practice, which is about 8 years ago, I had no clients, right? I had no clients, just like anyone just starting off, and I was totally freaked out. I said to my husband, how am I going to fill my schedule? This is really scary because, you have to make rent every month when you open a private practice, you have to be able to pay rent every month. And so that was really scary for me. But the first year of the practice, believe it or not, I was able to go to 6 figures in the first year. And what I think really made a difference for my practice is, first of all, obviously being disciplined, showing up on time, and having a really good work ethic is obviously a big part of running a successful practice. But for me, it was about scheduling. It was about scheduling and how I scheduled. And if you don't mind me saying so, Lisa, I can give a quick tip here for your audience about that. But scheduling is something that we need to follow up on. So a lot of doctors' offices, what they do is they wait for their client to make a schedule or make a plan. But what I've done with my clients is I follow up with them, or I schedule them in session with me for the next following week. And if I don't schedule them in session, and this might seem, layman, I guess you could say, but it did help out a lot in terms of making sure that I had a full schedule. So what I would do is, if I didn't have them scheduled, I would reach out and send a text message and say, hey, how's Tuesday and Wednesday? And I would actually narrow down my schedule, and I practiced only on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. I didn't practice on Thursdays and Fridays. And I found that when I really started to make my schedule niche, meaning I'm only there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, clients started to feel an urgency to get booked into the schedule, because I would only say I have Tuesday and Wednesday available. Which days do you want? And people really start to resonate with that, because if you're just like, well, what day do you want to schedule on? Which is how a lot of us start. A lot of times couples think that they can kind of run your schedule, or clients can kind of run your schedule like, oh, well, book me out for Friday at such and such, and you might have one client on Friday, and it's just a waste of a drive to go out to the office for one day. And you can maximize your time that way by creating a podcast, by creating and joining a mastermind, which is really good. And so on those days that you're not at the practice, you're kind of freed up to do some other marketing things. So that's how I started, Lisa.
That's fantastic. So how did you come across the idea of a podcast or a Facebook mastermind or the classes?
Yeah, that's a good question, Lisa. So I was actually invited into my mastermind, right? So there's a lot of different masterminds that I encourage you to join as quickly as possible, because those relationships really help you kind of network on a much bigger scale, for example, than you can inside your office. And, the way that I do it is I literally just go onto Facebook and I look up experts that I think I might want to interview on my podcast. And my podcast is a perfect segue for me to have them join in my mastermind, or for me to join into their mastermind, or to do some type of collaboration. And so I use my podcast not only to get really good content out to my listeners, but to also meet the people that I want to interview and make a relationship with them that is longstanding. And so I keep up with that. And every month I have a client, a collaboration call list that I have, because everything has to be systemized and operational for me. So I literally just put it into a file, and I open up that file on the 15th of every month, and I send out messages on the 15th of every month to all the people that I want to collaborate with, or people that I want to interview. So I'm not constantly on Facebook and so forth, because that can be really draining, right?
Absolutely. And I love the fact that you talked about how you systematized and operationalized a lot of things for your success. Can you talk a little bit more about some of the measurement tools and some of those systems that you put in place that would help with your growth strategy?
Yeah, so recently I implemented only posting on Facebook at 9 p.m. because there's specific times on Facebook and Instagram that actually the posts do better. And of course, you want to put as many hashtags as you possibly can in your Instagram. And I also recommend, in terms of systemization, is spend 2 days out of the whole quarter and make all of your photos, right? Make all your artwork, make all your photos, make everything, so that way you don't have to stop Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whenever you decide to post, to create content, which is time consuming, in order to put that out. So what I do is I sit down every quarter with my husband, because we're in business together with the other company. We have 3 companies now. And we sit down and we create artwork together. And so, like, I'll put, a quote on something, or I'll go in and create a picture for something else. And so it's easier for me to manage my time. Another thing that I've done is I've collaborated with other experts to actually put blogs into my Facebook group, which we just started in June. We have 180 members. We just started last month. Yeah. So I collaborated with other experts that are bloggers, and I have them come on and they send me their blog post. I make a small little artwork with it, and that's done. I don't have to work on that content. And it's cool because when you're collaborating with other people, they tend to refer to you and vice versa. So it's just another way to think outside the box when you're thinking about marketing and collaborating with other people, because people just want a platform. They want a platform to be able to talk about their information in as many different areas as they can. And if you can create a platform for them to do that, then you're golden. That's just one aspect of it, right?
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. This is the stuff that gets me so excited. I love the fact that, in your infinite brilliance, everything that you're doing is connected to something else, and they all feed into one another. You talk about how your podcast gives you the opportunity to collaborate with other people that you can then talk to in a mastermind group. That, they all feed into one another, and
from a marketing perspective,
from your marketing strategy, everything is growing, which kind of leads me to what we talked about at the beginning of the interview. It gives you a point of view to where you then begin to have different quote unquote problems. So let's talk about how all of this wonderfulness has impacted your private practice.
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Lisa. So, and also thanks for the kind words. It's not, you might think, oh, this is easy, right? And I just want to make sure that, your viewers know that none of this is easy, right? There's times where I wake up and I'm crying, or my husband is like, putting me to sleep at night because, sometimes you do things and they don't work out the way that you want, but, you just have to really just keep focusing on that next step. And you have to have a next step, right? Sometimes what we do is we just kind of broad spectrum think about what do we want? Oh, I want a successful practice. Okay, well, what does it take? And then just learning those steps and then taking that step, no matter the fear. I can tell you, like, even as I'm going to launch my course worldwide in the next couple days, I'm freaking out, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to get all this exposure. Like, what is this going to feel like for me? Because I'm a homebody, I like to be home with my dog, my husband. I'm not used to the exposure. And when I first started making videos, oh my God, they were terrible, Lisa. When I first started making videos, they were terrible. I just kept looking at the camera because there's no person behind it. It's not like you're having an interview with someone. And you're just looking into this hole of this camera, just like I am now. And you're thinking to yourself, this is really weird, right? You know, but you have to get over those things. I would say it took me 6 months to get comfortable in front of the camera, guys. So like these things, your own personal human moments are gonna come up, but as long as you just, because every time you up level to that next level, more fears and more anxieties start to come in. But, you know, going back to what Lisa was saying, I just wanted to kind of normalize this for you, because even though I'm doing well right now, it didn't, you know, it's not always going to look this pretty. It's just those little things as an entrepreneur that you figure out, like you have to learn how to deal with fear and anxiety, right? But anyway, going back to the problems that I have, right? I wouldn't really call them problems, but, you know, I have become really busy at the practice. I have 20 couples that I see a week, and I alternate, right? So I have a caseload of probably 60 couples that I alternate throughout the month. And I love what I do, but it also comes at, you know, a little bit of a cost in terms of my energy. So I was telling Lisa a little bit about the fact that it's kind of difficult to manage a practice with that high of a caseload, because I see couples for an hour and a half each time. So what I do now is I've set up a situation in which I created this Master Communication Intimacy e-course so I can actually scale the business and stop seeing as many clients as I see during the week. And I've also raised my prices as well. So I started off with the practice at $90 an hour at the very beginning. And then I went up to $125, $150, $175, and now I'm at $225, and now I'm gonna go up to $275 now. But you know, it's one of those things that your practice will grow with your skill set. Right? Like at the beginning, I thought to myself, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't, like, you know, even though I have all this training and I have my PhD, it's still something that you have to figure out how to learn and how to build that practice. So once you do, you can start to raise those prices. But yeah, there's, you know, when you start to scale the business, that's when you want to kind of scale back. And I always tell my husband 8 to 12 couples would be perfect for me for the whole week, you know?
That's, you know, that's such an exciting and wonderful, you know, and I'm going to use my air quotes again, problem to have, because it's not really a problem. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's wonderful to be at that point in your journey where you're thinking about, okay, well, now that I've built this phenomenal empire, how am I going to manage it? So that's,
Yeah.
congratulations. That's just fantastic. I would love to know you've done so much already. What's next in your marketing journey?
Okay, well, I actually, outsourcing. I've actually finally got to a place where I'm making enough money to outsource things. So it's like it's such a great feeling. I know. So outsourcing is really where it's at for me right now. So I can spend more time creating content that needs to be created that I can only do. For a long time, you know, I had nobody to rely on. But what's next? Yeah, so the Master Communication and Intimacy e-course program that I created is next. We're going to be launching it worldwide, and I'm really excited about it. There's literally, it's kind of like an untapped market, because there's lots of couples retreats and things like that, but nobody has ever really created the kind of e-course program that I've created, which is a combination of the e-course and then live coaching on the Facebook group that we have.
I'm so excited for your success. I really am.
Yeah.
What advice, Eva, would you give to those private practice owners starting out like you did some time ago, who are a little bit intimidated about taking on a marketing challenge?
Start slow, right? Because marketing is huge. I would also say that if you can afford some, you know, to outsource some of your marketing, like for example, building out your website, all the stuff that Lisa does would be a perfect place to start. I kick myself today for doing my own website and building it out myself and pulling my hair out of my head. Like, honestly, it would have been worth it to just pay an expert to take care of whatever it is that it had to do with marketing. However, you can start off with some small tasks by For example, just creating some artwork, like I said, spend 2 days, create some artwork, get some really good posts, and don't be afraid to ask for a sale either. Like if you have something that you want to sell, or if you're trying to get people out to your practice, you can, especially, well, if you're trying to fill your practice, it's really about sending out content that your viewers are going to resonate with, and then letting them know at the end of that content, like, hey, if you're feeling called to work on your relationship or something like that, here's my number, and you can put your website in there, and then just at the end of that content, So you want to give as much free content out there as you want, as you can. It's funny because when I first started, I'm like, you want me to give what away? Like, I teach that in my practice for $300, right? And one of those things, it's like people need to get to know who you are. And if you establish yourself as an expert in your niche and people like what you're saying and what you're doing, even if it's the same thing that's in your e-course or it's the same thing that you do at your practice, people still need to get to know the message and finding different ways to communicate your message, and then seeing, for example, like split testing. What is resonating with people? What's not resonating with people?
That's really good advice. I love the idea of starting small. Usually what I tell folks is, start with one thing. Start with one thing and be consistent about it and master it like you're the boss. And
then
a
podcast, even. A podcast is actually it's a really good tool to start networking. I mean, to be honest, now that I'm thinking about it, I started with my podcast. That was my main way to network with people at the very beginning. And I didn't know how to do a podcast, just so you know. I had no idea what I was doing. I had to figure it out. Like, I had to buy this mic here. I mean, you should see the setup that I have for my podcast. It's about $1,500 of an investment, how to get a new laptop, that kind of stuff. But once you just do that initial investment, you put it up on iTunes, you have someone edit your podcast, and, you can really start to network your business by starting a podcast. So.
Great advice. So for folks who want to learn a little bit more about you and all of the really great things that you offer, where can they find out more about you?
www.relationshiprevolutionaries.com. You can learn a lot more about my course there. For example, if you want to check it out and see what I did. You can also go to tabootalktime.com. And you can learn a little bit about the podcast that I have. You can go to podcast episodes, and you'll see all the podcasts there. And another thing that I recommend is just subscribing to my email list so you can get an idea of what kind of emails and content I am sending out, right?
Fantastic. Eva, thanks so much for coming on with us today. Again, folks, this is Eva Burnett Brown of Taboo Talk and Couples
Seeking Solutions. Yeah, so we have a couple different businesses. Couples Seeking Solutions is my private practice. Taboo Talk Time is my podcast. And it's all about breaking through societal norms, increasing mental health awareness, and unhinging taboo conversations that nobody wants to talk about, like infertility, like infidelity, like all these things that people don't want to talk about and they don't feel like they have support with. That's what the podcast is about. So you're welcome to check that out. And then our new company is called Relationship Revolutionaries, a tribe where couples thrive. And we're really proud of that. And that's going to be our main brand here moving forward.
Eva, congratulations on all of your success. Thank you for taking time out of your really busy schedule to talk to us today. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you very much, Lisa. It's been a pleasure.
Again, this is Lisa Wozniak with Woz Marketing, helping you navigate your yellow brick road.
Yay!